Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're grabbing our detective hats because we've got a case to crack, one that honestly stumps a lot of people. That dreaded engine code, P0175. So, you're driving along and boom, that little check engine light flicks on. You grab your scanner, you pull the code, and there it is, P0175. And right away, your mind just starts racing, right? Is this going to be a simple fix, something I can do in the driveway, or is my wallet about to take a serious hit? Well, that's exactly the mystery we are solving today. You know, long before that light ever comes on, your car is probably already trying to tell you something. It's sending out clues. Maybe it's idling a little rough, or you get that strong smell of gas. Or maybe you've noticed your gas mileage has just tanked. These aren't just annoyances, folks. These are the first crucial pieces of evidence in our case. Okay, so to solve any case, you've got to understand the clue, right? And P0175 is basically a two-part clue. First, what does system too rich actually mean? And second, where in the world is bank 2? Let's tackle that first part, rich mixture. The easiest way to think about it is like a recipe. Your engine has a perfect, very specific recipe for air and fuel to run at its best. When you get a rich code, it means the car's computer is screaming, hey, the recipe is wrong. There's way too much fuel or there's not enough air getting in. And then there's bank 2. Now this sounds way more complicated than it is, I promise. If you have a V-style engine like a V6 or V8, you've got two banks of cylinders. Here's the trick. Just find cylinder number 1. That whole side of the engine, that's bank 1. Which means the other side, yep, that's our crime scene. That's bank 2. All right, so we've decoded the clue, we know what's wrong and where it is. Now comes the fun part. It's time to figure out who or what is responsible. Let's line up the usual suspects. And here's our lineup. You've got your misleading witness. That's a dirty mass airflow sensor lying about how much air is coming in. Or maybe it's the leaky accomplice, a fuel injector on bank 2 that's just stuck open. You could have a corrupt messenger, a bad oxygen sensor sending faulty reports back to the computer. Or it could be as simple as a clogged gateway, a really dirty air filter that's basically choking the engine. The point is, any one of these could be our culprit. So here's the thing. When you've got a list of suspects this long, you can't just start throwing parts at the problem. I mean, you could, but that gets real expensive real fast. A good detective doesn't guess. A good detective has a secret weapon to pinpoint the real bad guy. And this, to me, is the absolute best part of this whole diagnostic process. The secret weapon isn't some $1,000 scan tool. Nope. It's a really smart way of thinking, a method that uses something your car already gives you for free. It's called bank-to-bank comparative analysis. Think about it. We know bank 2 is the problem, right? But that means you have a perfectly good, healthy bank 1 sitting right there. Bank 1 becomes our gold standard. It's our known good reference that tells us exactly what normal is supposed to look like. Just look at the data when you put them side by side. It's incredible. On our healthy bank 1, the long-term fuel trim is sitting at a nice, calm -3%. But look at bank 2. It's at -22%. That means the computer is just yanking as much fuel as it possibly can. And the O2 sensor voltage? Bank 1 is switching up and down just like it should. Bank 2, it's stuck high, just screaming, rich, rich, rich. When you compare them like this, the problem doesn't just whisper, it shouts. Okay, so the evidence is pointing a giant flashing finger at the O2 sensor on bank 2. But in any good investigation, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt, right? We need a confession. So how do we get it? With one last brilliant interrogation technique. It's called the O2 sensor swap test, and it's just so simple and effective. You literally just unscrew the upstream O2 sensors from each bank and swap them. The good one from bank 1 goes into bank 2, and our suspect from bank 2 goes over to bank 1. Then you clear the codes, take the car for a spin, and see what happens. And the results of this test are crystal clear. There are only two things that can happen. 1, the problem moves. If you suddenly get a P0172 code, that's a rich code for bank 1, case closed. You've got your confession. The sensor is the culprit. But if the code stays P0175 on bank 2, well then the sensor is innocent. It's been exonerated. And you've got to go back to looking at other suspects on that bank, like maybe a leaky fuel injector. So let's say we did it. We ran the test, we found the bad part. Case solved, we're done, right? Well, not quite. Because now we have to talk about the final act, actually fixing it. And more importantly, why you absolutely can't just ignore it. And it's tempting, I get it. The car still drives, right? It might be a little rough, but it gets you from A to B. You think, I'll just live with the light for a little while. But let me ask you, what's the worst that could happen? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Ignoring a rich condition is a really, really costly mistake. See, all that extra unburned fuel isn't just killing your gas mileage, it's getting pumped raw straight into your exhaust system. And that's where things get seriously bad. Because that raw fuel starts to cook your catalytic converter from the inside. It can superheat it, melt the precious metals inside, and completely destroy it. And let me tell you, replacing a cat is not a small job. You're easily looking at $1,000, maybe even more. And that's the real kicker here. A simple, relatively cheap O2 sensor fix today can prevent a $1,000 plus catalytic converter replacement tomorrow. The key is acting fast before that small problem snowballs into a giant, expensive one. So there you have it. The case of the P0175 code is officially closed. And I hope the big takeaway for you is this. Don't be intimidated by that check engine light. If you just think like a detective, use a little logic, especially the logic of comparison, you can turn what seems like a really confusing problem into a totally solvable case. Your car is literally giving you a known good reference point. You just have to use it to your advantage.